World News in 5.
Right now.
News and developments making headlines around the world in 5 minutes. World News in 5. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Good day to all of our listeners here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This is World News in 5 and I'm your host, Steph Vicente. United States President Donald Trump said he spoke with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte during what he described as an amazing trip to Davos. According to BBC News, Rutte assured US President Trump that if the United States is ever attacked, NATO allies would stand with it. He also said the alliance is stronger under Trump's leadership. When asked by reporters if this reassurance was comforting, US President Trump said he hopes it is true and described Rutte as an honest and reliable leader. However, the US leader raised concerns about Greenland, saying he wants the territory purely for security reasons. He added that Rutte is focused on security for everyone, both within NATO and beyond. Earlier, US President Trump questioned whether NATO allies would come to the US's aid in a crisis, despite NATO's Article 5 rule, which says an attack on one member is an attack on all. Article 5 has only been used once after the September 11 attacks in 2001. In other news overseas, United States President Donald Trump announced that he will not push through with the tariffs that were set to take effect on February 1. In a post on Truth Social, US President Trump said the decision followed what he described as a very productive meeting with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. According to Trump, the two sides have agreed on a framework for a possible future deal involving Greenland. The BBC reports the US leader said the proposed agreement, if finalized, would benefit the United States and all NATO member nations. Because of this understanding, Trump said the planned tariffs for February 1 will no longer be imposed. He added that further talks are ongoing, including discussions about the so-called Golden Dome and its relevance to Greenland. The US President said more details will be released as negotiations continue. He also named Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and other officials to lead the talks and report directly to him. And finally, the man who killed former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has been sentenced to life in prison according to public broadcaster NHK. The verdict ends a trial over an assassination that stunned Japan, a country where gun violence is extremely rare. The case also drew attention to the influence of a religious group linked to the suspect's motives. The attacker, Tetsuya Yamagami, shot Abe in broad daylight using a homemade gun while the former leader was delivering a campaign speech on a street in Nara in 2022. Abe had resigned as prime minister in 2020 due to health issues but remained an active and highly influential political figure. Yamagami, now 45 years old, was arrested at the scene and later charged with murder and illegal possession of firearms. And that concludes today's edition of World News in 5. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this has been Steph Vicente. Good day and stay safe, everyone.
World News in 5.
Right now.
News and developments making headlines around the world in 5 minutes. World News in 5. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.